final race of the Offshore Professional Tour year is once again the ultimate test of man and machine against the sea. Today, the entire OPT fleet goes after the title of World Champion. From ESPN, Super Hawaii Powerboats presents the 1990 Key West OPT World Championship. The 1990 OPT World Championship is sponsored by the Florida Keys in Key West, where you can just let go of mainland hassle and hustle. By Popeye's famous fried chicken and biscuits. And by Super Hawaii Powerboats. Welcome to Key West, Florida. Hello, everybody. I'm Art Eckman, and working with me, my season-long broadcast partner, Jim Hendrick. And Jim, I can't think of a better place for a world championship. First of all, the racers love it here in Key West. Second of all, the weather conditions are different from day to day, hour to hour, presenting a magnificent test for these racers.
These racers love the Florida Keys. As you may recall, a short time ago, we finished up the regular season about 50 miles north of here at Marathon in the heart of the Keys, the other side of the 7-mile bridge. Now, down here, the southernmost tip of the United States, a little different challenge because the currents of the Gulf of Mexico will merge with the currents of the Atlantic Ocean and present one heck of a challenge.
It's been a magnificent premier season for the Offshore Professional Tour, one that has had heartaches for some and exhilarating moments for many. For those that had a frustrating season, it means a clean slate, a chance for a prestigious title before the off-season.
We had the closest high-point championship race in the history of boat racing in 1990, the OPT's inaugural season, and now those that came close to winning the national championship have a chance to do it all over again. In one race, they can pick up the title of World Champion. If they do that, it salvages the whole season.
And for those very proud national champions, it means I'd like to take 2 titles home in one season.
It's like winning both ends of a doubleheader.
Rich Lures will be covering the action from up above in Chopper 1. Rich?
Thanks, Art, and it is very windy out here. The race committee has seen fit to shorten the race course, and we know why. There are wind gusts right now of about 30 miles an hour. It should be very rough going for the racers today. These wind gusts mean big waves. Big waves mean rough water going, rough throttling. A big challenge for the throttlemen today. Back to you, Art.
One leg of the OPT World Championship was run earlier this week. Points from the 2 races now will determine our overall world champion. In that opening leg, the race action was wild because of high seas. It brought the speeds down, forcing the fleet into tight competition. In the superboat class, Ike Batista and throttleman Bobby Moore in the Spirit of the Amazon proved equal to the conditions, posting a speed of 90.5 miles an hour. The big seas offer the deep V's their kind of conditions. Apache Kid coming through with a 2nd place. In the open class, once again, the action was close, with the fresh paint of US 1 barely dry after winning the national points title. Joe Mock and Smitty Smith in Dirty Laundry took the checkered flag. In the Pro 1 division, Stephen Dorsich and John Bruno put salve on the wound of just missing the national championship and withstood the pounding to take the win. One accident in the first race, gone again with Rick Bowling and Nigel Hook, took the harbor turn with too much power and paid the price. Neither man was injured. In Pro 2, Grand Haven winners Alan Pariser and Rick Doria in Splish Splash. The only V-bottom in the Pro 2 class won easily. Here's the point standings now after the first race, with Amazon in the superboat class on top of Apache Kid and Lucky Strike. Going into the final race with the points advantage here in the open class, Dirty Laundry, followed by Don Q, Crystal, and Special Edition. And in the Pro 1, Risky Business on top of Thoroughbred and First Offense 1, 2, and 3. In Pro 2, it's Splish Splash, Skater Express, and Great Adventure 1, 2, and 3 with Conch Attack also a shot at the title. Everyone is excited and getting ready for the run at the World Championships and the offshore racing at its best in beautiful Key West, Florida. We'll be back with the start of the race right after this.
Super Hawaii powerboats. Purpose, quality, and design without compromise.
Welcome back to Key West, Florida. It's the people of Key West that give this race added pleasure. They love offshore racing and greet this event with open arms.
Gentlemen, you guys really work together every year to make this a success.
Well, we happen to be two great hotels that have the best setting in all of this part of the world. Look at it, right out here on the Gulf of Mexico, and all of these people. Yes, we're great partners in all of this.
What does this event mean to you economically?
Oh, just millions and millions and millions of dollars and world notoriety. That's all.
That's enough. Don DeFeo, you've been here before, and of course, you had Jerry's job before. Is this a round-robin effect?
Well, we're really glad to be able to keep it in the family, so to speak, but we're really great to have powerboat racing down here in Key West, and year after year, as Jerry said, it's come back and been very successful. With the harbor here in place, it's just one of the greatest places to view what's going on.
And the Ocean Key House and, of course, the Pier House, two great hotels, and they've been very kind to us.
It's wonderful to have such grassroots support. Another reason the racers love Key West, the racing conditions. Jim, let's take a look at today's offshore course.
All right, Art, but because of extremely high winds have kicked up these waters, today's course has been shortened for safety. The fleet will start along Key West's famous Mallory Square and head out to checkpoint number 1. Now here, the course becomes a challenge, as the racers must contend with two colliding bodies of water. The Gulf of Mexico, where conditions are usually calm, and the Atlantic Ocean, where seas are running 5 to 7 feet. From here, it's north through the roughest waters to checkpoint number 2. Bearing northeast, the fleet proceeds inland to checkpoint number 3. Turning south, the races will give offshore fans a great view as the boats run close to the beach. Then it's round checkpoint number 4 and into the protected waters off of Key West Harbor, completing a 15-mile lap. Now, each class must make a predetermined number of laps to complete today's race. Superboats, 105 miles or 7 laps. 4 laps for Pro 1, 60 miles, and Pro 2, 45 miles, 3 laps.
Our thanks to Mickey Mills and the Evolution Marine outboard powered pace boat for helping our crews and personnel all season long. Another gentleman who made things happen, the executive director of the OPT, John Carbonell, who's been at the helm of a very successful season.
It's been a lot more than anyone expected. We've accomplished more than what we intended to accomplish, actually. You know, we're going to expand on some of our ideas for continuing close-in racing. We're going to really lock in our television, and I feel that next year will be a bigger and better year and probably move the sport forward considerably.
A great premier season for OPT. Jim, let's take a look at today's Superboat starting lineups.
All right, Art, there are 11 boats in Superboat class that'll compete here today, starting with Payless, Eric's Reality, Charlie Marks, Dan Campbell. Also, Bud Dry, August Bush IV, and Jeff Sofer. Gentry Eagle, Tom Gentry, and John Connor. Totally Awesome, Randy Garcia, Elliott Sutton. Jaguar Marine, Craig Berry, and Jack Clark. Phil Mashinsky and Jeff Millenhausen in the Lucky Strike. Super Hawaii, Yoshiro Katami, Bill Sorois, Kurt Russell, and Richie Powers in Team USA. Spirit of the Amazon, Ike Batista, and the veteran Bobby Moore. Pete Markey, Trey Martin, and Little Caesars Pizza. Apache Kid, Alan Feingold, and Jerry Davis. And look at this fleet of Superboats coming down to make this start. One of the finest looking starts I've seen in many, many years of offshore racing. This is the fastest boat field in the fleet for World Championships 1990.
Here we are, and it's the calmest water these boats will see most of the day. Payless Eric's Reality out in front. Bud Dry at the lower part of your screen coming on. The smallest boat in the Superboat class. Team USA up on the top of your screen. And look at there, Tom Gentry, the wing off. And he takes the early lead, Jim.
Oh, as they come out now, they're in the smoothest part of the water. They're going to head out to checkpoint 1, where the calm water and the rougher water will start to merge. These guys are going to have to be careful. But right now, they're in close. The spectators are getting quite a view here at Key West, Florida.
This is such a traditional race that the crowd, a huge crowd, makes a habit of coming to Key West every year.
Now let's check the open class. Jody Laundrie, Joe Mock, and Smitty Smith. Island Runner, Herb Stotler and Frank Kerbeck. Gentry Turbo Eagle with Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier. John Shields and David Windmiller in the photo finish. The Turkish Express, Nuri Sabunja and Harold Stepp. Ale Feet, Bill Ellsworth and Pete Rose. Don Q. Crystal with Juan and Felix Sorales. Bengal Bay Club, Richard Smith and James Bass. Oh, look at this. Here's a late starter. Is he going to catch up to the field?
I don't know. He had trouble getting the boat started, and he's right back, but he's up to power in the calm water, and we have a start now in the open class. It is photo finish out in front.
That late starter was Ale Veet, who's now made a U-turn, is catching up to the fleet. He's going to be in the race, but just barely.
Incredible, and he's running very, very well now.
All right, look at our leader down here in the bottom of the screen. It looks like it is Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier in the Gentry Turbo Eagle in open class. By the way, here's your late starter, and he's coming up to the fleet right now. And that, of course, is Ale Veet.
Back to the superboat class. Spirit of the Amazon taking the lead. They're headed toward the roughest point in the course near checkpoint 1. Rich Lures, it looks like the fleet is cautious.
That's a wise thing to do right now. These are very, very vicious seas out here. Big rollers. You can see the sea is roiled up, but very gray. Coral and sand boiled up in the water. There's a good 4 or 5 foot rollers sitting out here, and there's an occasional haul, as we know, with this east wind in Key West.
Gentry Eagle currently out on top with Payless Eric's Reality. Spirit of the Amazon closest to the camera. Team USA. And that's Peter Markey coming up in the corner of the screen.
Boy, they're all bunched up there fighting for that third spot, and look how they've slowed down to take this negotiation around checkpoint 1 very carefully at this roughest point. Now we're back to the start, and Pro 1 and Pro 2 are all grouped together. Look how close they are. Wow, what a start this is.
First offense breaking out on top. That's going to be close racing all the way. It's going to be interesting now when they approach the rough water that the Spirit of the Amazon is currently in.
Right now, Spirit of the Amazon and the rest of the fleet negotiating this rough course here at Key West. We'll be back with all the action in just a moment. Once a sleepy port town and now a flourishing mecca for vacationers, the island of Key West continues its seafaring legacy as host of this World's Championship OPT offshore event. In addition to many water activities such as fishing and diving, this tropical paradise offers scenic historic attractions. Whether searching for that perfect gift in any one of its many shops or just enjoying the Caribbean spirit, visitors from around the globe can experience an abundance of fun in the sun. Kind of a laid-back feeling, isn't it, Art, every time we come down here?
It surely is, Jim. Offshore powerboat racing first brought me to Key West, and it's one of my favorite places in the world now. During the winter, when the rain, snow, and sleet are prevalent in other parts of the United States, Key West is balmy and warm with a wonderful variety of activities. You can't tell I love it down here, can you, Jim?
I sure can. It's really scenic. It's really relaxing. It's kind of a kickback atmosphere, and I just love it.
It's not kickback here. Brazilian Ike Batista approaching checkpoint 1 with Bobby Moore at the throttles. He was the winner of the first race in the Spirit of the Amazon a couple of days ago.
And you know, Art, that crew's been very busy since that victory. They've changed 2 of their 4 engines to fresh engines, Gentry engines, of course, and they've changed the outdrives to ensure victory here today.
Well, I would say that for a world championship, if you want to win, you can't take any chances. And 2 of the engines had low compression, so we decided to change 2 engines. And the drives, we believe that at the power that the engines have, they're right at the limit. So I think it's advisable for a world championship to change them.
But will the rough water conditions give the V-bottom an advantage? A V-bottom Apache Kid has just knifed through that water at tremendous speed to take the lead away from Spirit of the Amazon.
I think you'll find the deep V's out here in the rough water have the advantage, and of course the Cats, when they get inland in the harbor, have the speed advantage at that point.
This is the 2nd World Championship for the hull of Apache Kid. It ran under RDS with Stephen Baldwin winning the first race in 1988 of the World Championships in that big water in Atlantic City.
And yet another deep V hull, Lucky Strike, passes another catamaran, the Gentry Eagle.
Jim, last year's world champion Peter Markey and Little Caesars Pizza right here.
The deep V performance has been improved through the efforts of Little Caesars throttleman Trey Martin.
Well, we've been using a lot of horsepower, but we've also been doing a lot of R&D work on the deep Vs because in the past the deep Vs haven't run very well. We've been doing bottom blueprinting and drive height changes and all types of propeller changes. And you know, I think that we're running real respectable speeds. They've never seen speeds like this in DPs before.
More than respectable right now as he's knifing through that rough water condition at tremendous speed. Here is Payless Eric's reality. Last year's national points champion Charlie Marks being a little cautious now at this point in the race.
Here's Jaguar Marine. Look at Craig Berry and Jack Clark. Whoa, they are getting one ride. Just kites up and comes right down on the stern. Very, very dangerous.
Super Hawaii, we're right inside the boat with you right now. Watch the pounding that these guys take.
They took such a pounding the other day that Bill Sorois, the throttle man, is not in the cockpit today. He cracked a few ribs. Meanwhile, look at Dick Clark on the left. Wipe off. There is no shield on this boat. Yashiro Katami is trying to adjust his intercom wires as they pound through the water here at Key West.
This Deep V diesel Super Hawaii now taking on Team USA, and they've got the momentum going, Jim.
Yes, look at the black smoke come off it. It's the only diesel-powered boat in the fleet.
Back inside the boat now for Super Hawaii, and Team USA coming up with a right. Oh, what an experience this must be. They're going blind right through the wake.
Visibility lesson for the crew of Super Hawaii as they take the spray right over that boat with no windshield. Team USA, Kurt Russell, from navigator to driver in the absence of Don Johnson for this race. What holds forth for next year?
Don and I are going to talk about next year and the possibility of having two boats with Team USA, possibility again of combining. It's very difficult for us to know what our schedules are going to be work-wise. It worked out this year in a way that Don and I had talked about last winter, which was that when he was working, I would drive the boat. And I was working all summer long, so never had the opportunity to earlier. I'm really glad that my opportunity has come at the World Championships. But for next year, it's sort of the time of year, I think, when everybody looks to next year and says, well, what are we going to do? Everybody's thinking about money and sponsors, and it's been a real successful year for OPT, and I'd love to be able to come back next year. I'm just going to have to wait and see what happens work-wise and what can happen boat-wise.
Tremendous driving experience, though, in these rough waters at Key West, Florida for Kurt Russell with Richie Powers. Here's the Bud Dry boat, the smallest in the field in the Superboat class. August Bush the fourth at the helm, being a little cautious right now, and that's probably a good thing.
Absent from the open class is John and J.D. DeLeo. They developed a fuel leak. There was fuel in the bottom of the boat. Special edition was scratched, as was Crystal Gerstner's Blue Max.
And this is Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier out in front in the Gentry Turbo Eagle.
And look at Ale Vite. He takes over the lead. Boy, he is just bouncing through that water. That Deep V Hall, again, in rough water, showing better than the Cats.
With that late start, he has come out of nowhere with great speed.
Ale Vite, our leader in open class, another Deep V leader, as we look at the scoreboard so far here at Key West. We'll be back with more action of the OPT World Championship down in Key West, Florida, in just a moment. The Spirit of the Amazon is our superboat leader here at Key West, and they, like many of the boats here, have taken advantage of the high-tech cockpit canopy protection.
The cockpit canopies you see on many offshore race boats are much more than mere windshields. In powerboat racing, when a boat rolls or stuffs, the crew is faced with a deadly wall of water. Standing between this potentially fatal impact and the racers is the cockpit canopy system. This technology originated from supersonic fighter jets. Today's fighters are designed to operate at high speed and at low altitude. This exposes the jets to a danger of bird strike. Imagine the result of a 4-pound bird hitting a jet cockpit at 500 knots. To solve this problem, engineers at the Techstar Corporation developed a very strong but flexible canopy of Lexan and polycarbonate composites. The application of powerboat racing was a natural. Since 1983, cockpit canopy technology is credited with saving the lives of 30 boat racers. Many competitors use a canopy from an F-16 fighter. There are two types. The most popular utilizes an open-air cutout in the top of the dome for ease of self-extrication. Other competitors seal their canopies with a hatch, completely enclosing the cockpit, offering additional protection. The big 3- and 4-man crew superboat catamarans, like the Spirit of Amazon or Team USA, utilize another type of cockpit canopy application. This design features a Techstar canopy split down the middle and connected to a roll bar. This design remains aerodynamically clean while providing the maximum life-saving impact protection to a 4-man superboat crew. Used in tandem with a 5-point harness system, a reinforced cockpit cocoon, dunk training, and adequate rescue personnel and procedures, the cockpit canopy system is the best method of saving lives in a powerboat racing accident. No matter what the style of canopy these boats employ, the speeds reached in competition today dictate that extra measures must be taken in crew protection.
Ollie Veet, your open leader at better than 78-mile-an-hour average.
And like all V-bottoms, they're racing without a canopy. More likely to survive a stuff, the V-bottoms, than the Cats. Pete Rose leading like he did in Grand Haven.
This water is about 1/3 as rough as Grand Haven. It's not really very rough. We like Grand Haven a lot, and we were leading most of the race until we ran out of gas, unfortunately. But the V-bottoms have an advantage when it's wavy. The catamarans have an advantage every other time, and it's only wavy about 20% of the time. So we're mostly at a disadvantage, and we look for days like today, and when we get them, we get excited.
It all started for Pete Rhodes when he bought a pleasure boat. Then he moved up to a 41-foot Apache, had some success, and now he's in the big time. Here's Turkish Express along with Photo Finish Jim.
A 32-foot Douglas at the top of your screen, and 7 foot longer, a Cougar Cat is Turkish Express with Nuri Sabunja and Harold Stepp. Stepp is on the throttles. These throttlemen today have their work cut out for them.
They're on the back leg, the smoother water near the beach. The catamarans are flying under ideal conditions for their craft. Even so, as you mentioned, Jim, those throttlemen really have to be careful. Once they get out of the water, they got to come off that accelerator.
Here we're looking at 4th place Gentry Turbo Eagle with Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier. They've had their problems today, and they're not really riding that well. They look like they're plowing a lot.
Here's our US 1, our national champion, Dirty Laundry. He's got an engine hatch flapping, Jim. Boy, they'd like to add that world championship, though, to their already great season.
Well, the world title's always fine to get, but in open class, I think it's probably the finest because there's more competition in open class. The boats live, the drivers push harder. It's constant. There's never a let-up. There's no easy races.
Joe Bach and Harold Smitty Smith. Now, they don't want to take the time to stop and fix that hatch, but I bet they keep their eye on it. Don Q. Crystal, the smallest in this class. A 32-foot catamaran. Now, despite their size, the Sorrellises are not holding back.
Well, basically, we have a 32-foot skater, and that is just at the outer limits. I mean, it's just too small for the open class, for the speeds we're running and the seas we're running. So a bigger boat would put us on an even keel with everybody else, because right now we're just running the smallest boat, but the fastest boat. So we're the rabbit out there. So we got to try extra hard to keep up with them in the rough part.
Extra hard they are. Low, look at that, Jim. He almost went over.
That's the closest he's going to come to testing those canopies. He'd have had a blowover if the stern drives hadn't caught the water.
Frank Kerbick, an island runner. He's an exotic car dealer from Palmyra, New Jersey.
We're looking at the Bengal Bay Club, 111. The former Seahawk, owned by Sal Magluta.
Richard Smith and Jim Bass now running it for Yasuhiro Kobayashi of Japan in the lead. Jim, I'm surprised. Apache Kid in the harbor area very early. We've seen so many great races here in Key West. Jim, let's relive some of the memories.
In the 1986 Key West World Cup, Al Copeland had captured the checkered flag in the first 2 of the 3 race series, but still had not yet won the war. The final race was for double points, and the strategy for the title was simple. Place higher than 3rd and beat the closest challenger, Tim Sasuli, in the Maxim. However, as the green flag flew, both Al Copeland Sr. and Jr. were not up on plane, and Tom Gentry shot into the lead. Once on plane, the Popeyes team had to make up for lost time. The Gentry team broke down. Then it was a clash of the Titans after catching up with Sasuli. Oddly enough, it would be Al Copeland Jr. in the number 10 V-bottom who would challenge his dad to the finish line. Proving that there were still a few tricks up the old man's sleeve, Al Copeland Sr. finished first, winning the 86 World Championship. This determination to come from behind and secure the checkered flag is what makes Al Copeland a world-class performer.
It's no wonder we saw Apache Kid so early. We've got the report that number 89 missed a checkpoint. So here is your new leader, Spirit of the Amazon. Lucky Strike in second and Little Caesars in third.
We've got a wild battle in Pro 1. Look at the boat almost hooks. They're like busy little bees over the rough water as they come in. We'll check this class further after this timeout. Jim Hendrick and Art Ekman back here in Key West. We're looking at one of our cameramen covering the race from above today. Helicopters play an important part in the coverage of offshore powerboat racing competition.
Danger is an element prevalent in all motorsports. Whether it's on the track or in the dirt, the risk of an accident weighs heavy on the minds of the competitors. As speeds increase, so must the courage of those attempting them. One sport, however, sees heroics in the air as well as on the course. Because its laps often stretch miles beyond the horizon, an offshore course presents a number of logistical challenges. For media coverage, the use of a helicopter is a must. The skills involved with this aerial production are second only to those of the racers themselves. Here's the dilemma. While covering the race boats, the pilot must constantly spot the oncoming and often close air traffic. In addition to the photo ships, these overhead swarms most importantly count the medical and safety rescue teams in their number. In seconds, these emergency squads can be deployed anywhere on the course without interfering with the race or being detained on the ground.
The difficulties on the course are that medical boats have a response time to an accident scene. We must deploy medical rescue people from the helicopters over this public domain waters. This sport does not have a controlled area for medical rescue, so that helicopters are the most important and the first line of medical rescue defense.
Whether speeding to an accident site or jockeying for an ideal camera position, it's no secret that the traffic in the air adds to the excitement on the water.
Talk about excitement. A flip in the first race of the series hasn't seemed to affect the crew of Gone Again. Here they're battling in Pro 1. Let's go upstairs to Rich Lures.
All right, there's a war in pro stock between Thoroughbred P39 and P4 Gone Again. Rick Bowling, as we last saw him on Wednesday, was upside down in the harbor turn. And right now he's leading in pro stock. An amazing comeback from what was a bitter experience on Wednesday. He's now the lead boat and doing very, very well in both the rough and the calm. I don't know if that spin-out experience shook some speed into the boat, but boy, it's never looked better.
Well, Rich, it's going to be interesting now because they are approaching that same turn in which you saw the boat spin out. And look at here, Gone Again is being very cautious, a very wide turn. We've got Thoroughbred cutting to the inside, and they will take the lead at the turn. First offense right here with Mike Novak. He's been in and out of racing all year, along with Ed Martinez.
He's in third place right now. Our fourth place is Risky Business. This is a day where the little boats have to survive big waters. Prior to the race, I asked Stephen Dorsich, how do you prepare for this?
Well, I think when you get in the cockpit, you flip the switch and you become part of the machinery. You become part of the whole unit. You're not thinking about yourself. You're concentrating exclusively on what you're doing. You're going to work. And that's basically what I do. And I look forward to getting in, and I also look forward to getting out. So I come here to do a job and do it right, do it good, do it well, and win this thing.
He certainly is doing well. Consistently strong through these waters. Risky Business putting on some good speed. Here's Eastern Express, the only inboard-powered boat in the fleet.
And they're up from around Lake St. Clair, up near Mount Clemens, Michigan, this crew, and they're looking for bigger things next year.
Team USA, Alan Shapiro, he hopes to move up in class next year. Right now, he's putting on the pedal with P51.
Here's a boat that has been really pressing all the way. Leader at Pro 2, winner of the last race, the first race in this series, Splish Splash. And there's your scoreboard for Pro 2 class.
In the Superboat division, Lucky Strike is the leader, but this is the battle for second place. Apache Kid missing a checkpoint. Little Caesars Pizza, but look it, Spirit of the Amazon is on the move on the flat water. The deep V's took over in the rough water, but Spirit of Amazon is making its move here in the smooth stuff. When I think of offshore racing, many times I think of physical endurance, but there's a strategy underway right now because Spirit of the Amazon is taking a very close line closer to the beach and getting into the smooth water and picking up speed. He passes Lucky Strike to take the lead. Another look back now to a past world champion.
Plagued by mechanical problems in the first two races of the 1987 Kazi-Kara World Championship, Tom Gentry's chances of taking the world title from Al Copeland looked dismal. The Popeyes team was alive with fire, looking for the sweep of the series. Gentry's only hope was to finish first and pray the Gremlins would work on Copeland's boat for a change, dispatching the Popeyes team to last place. At the start, Gentry jumped out in front and remained there for the duration. As luck would have it, Gentry's other opponents worked in his favor. 4 other boats finished between Tom and Al Copeland. That was enough to place the Popeyes at the bottom of the list and put Gentry at the top of his profession, winning the 1987 World Championship and establishing Tom Gentry as a world-class performer.
Tom Gentry not so happy on this day. He's out of the 1990 World Championships, but Jim, he will be back. Allez Vite looking strong, leading the open class.
Whoa, look at this. We almost had a near collision down here in the turn in the harbor area. The Dirty Laundry just missed the Don Q in slow motion. You can see where the Don Q moved from lane 2 toward the buoy line, and he almost wore the Dirty Laundry boat for a hat. Very dangerous.
From this angle, you can see the wake of Don Q Crystal cutting the turn shorter. Now, back to the superboats. It's Spirit of the Amazon, and that strategy is certainly working. Right here, they get closer to the beach and pick up speed. Spirit of the Amazon, lucky strike with one of their finest performances. Over in the open division, Allez Vite, Turkish Express, and Dirty Laundry. The pounding continues for the Super Hawaii crew, and we'll be back with more Offshore World Championship action right after this. Welcome back to the Key West OPT Offshore World Championship. Spirit of the Amazon out in front of the superboat competition. Ike Batista has Bobby Moore setting up a total engine program in the off-season, which they say will add some 850 horsepower. That's like adding another engine. Phil Mashinsky, a steady campaigner all season long, but this is his strongest performance in Lucky Strike to date.
They're currently in second place as we look at Payless Eric's reality. And, of course, the driver is Charlie Marsh, who says he might not be back next year.
Well, this is the last year that I'm going to tell the lie. I mean, I've been saying for the last 2 years that if I don't get a sponsor, I'm not going to run. And this time, I've ran out of money, so if I don't get a sponsor, I'm not going to be around next year.
It takes many dollars to operate a top-notch offshore racing team. We hope Charlie Marks returns. We're looking at the cockpit of the Super Hawaii, whose team uses offshore racing as a test track to develop diesel-powered pleasure boats.
Yoshiro Katami builds one of the world's fastest pleasure boats. But unlike most high-performance boats which begin life on the public waters and then graduate to the racing circuit, the Super Hawaii design is a World Championship race boat pressed into public service. The Super Hawaii Powerboat Company was born offshore. For 2 years in a row, Italian mastermind Fabio Buzzi came to the World Championships here in Key West and left the Americans in his wake with his winged diesel V-bottom Gancia de Gancia. Katami realized the crossover potential, licensed the design from Buzzi, and is now producing deluxe production boats for speed-hungry buyers in the United States and Japan.
My company's basic policy, number one, reliability, never broken. Diesel is a very good matching power boat. Next year, January, 6 kind diesel high performance diesel engine power boat we sell start.
The unique combination of the V-bottom backed up with diesel power makes sense to Super Hawaii racing manager Bill Saroy.
Our thinking is that with the diesel power, we can run this boat almost wide open all day long. And it isn't quite as fast as some of the other boats, but I think that it's a lot more dependable. And by being right there in second, third every day or every lap around the race course, I think at the end of the day, you're going to see that boat right up front.
Super Hawaii powerboats have taken a different tack to the pleasure boat market, proving the mettle of their craft on the race course before, not after, the public gets a chance behind the wheel.
During the Honolulu Unlimited race, just a while back, we saw some of the prototypes of the Super Hawaii boat. As we look inside the cockpit, once again, Yoshio Katami and his crew taking a pounding here in Key West. Speaking of poundings, our camera crew has spotted a stress crack in the Jaguar Marine. They've notified the medical and safety crews. They'll monitor the situation.
If these big boats are taking such a pounding, you can imagine what the smaller boats are going through right now. And here's a good example. Bud Dry, driven by August Bush, the fourth and all. Look at that. Baptism of fire for the smallest boat in the super boat class.
You say smaller is better, Bernie, a little, but the water can be very rough on a small boat like this.
Yes, you're right. It can be, and there'll be times when they can't sit out there and run at full speed, but they're sitting out there looking 135 mile an hour in smooth water, and the way they're racing today along the shorelines, it is a lot smoother than it used to be.
Does that shake you out at all, rough water?
Well, Jimmy, we have to be careful. Nobody wants to get hurt. It's bad for the sport, and it's bad for us. So we're going to take it easy out there the first couple laps, see what the water's like. And I believe, though, that the boat will run really well in rough water. Maybe not quite as big as the big cats, but we're going to do all right.
I believe August Bush IV has a bright future in this sport. Time for another look back at a World Championship performance from the past.
In the 1988 Key West World Cup, newcomer Don Johnson had garnered a second and first place finish in the earlier two races and faced the final heat as the points leader. Still in the hunt, however, were his teammate Tom Gentry and Phil Mashinsky in the PTM Express. After battling with Al Copeland Jr., Tom Gentry took the lead for himself and ran with it. Meanwhile, Johnson in the Gentry V-bottom was busy fighting off the rest of the hungry pack, having his hands full with both PTM Express and the Popeyes team. When the smoke cleared, it was Johnson who endured the relentless barrage and placed second behind Tom Gentry. Once the points were tallied, it was Don Johnson who earned the 1988 World Championship and his place in offshore racing as a world-class performer.
Let's update the open class now. Allez vite. And this is their best performance ever. They're a happy crew right now, just hoping things hold together because they're navigating this course beautifully. After a near collision, you see the wake on the left of your screen. That's Dirty Laundry and Don Q Crystal. Oh, they're battling it out for third right now. Dirty Laundry with the advantage in the rough water as we take a look at the rundown, the leaderboard. Allez Vite #1, followed by Turkish Express, Dirty Laundry, and Don Q Crystal.
And we'll be back with more action of the OPT World Championships here at Key West, Florida in just a moment.
The DP hull of Splish Splash, just the ticket for the waters off of Key West. 20 minutes ahead of the second place boat in Pro 2 class. They went all out every lap. Skaters Express #2, Conch Attack, and Great Adventure. Still on the water, the Pro 1.
And look at this battle between Risky Business and the Thoroughbred. Deck to deck, side by side, two equal boats. These crews are battling for the right to wear OPT World Championship 1990 here at Key West.
Let's check the open class right now. Perfect attitude, looking smooth as ice. Occasionally they'll have a bump there, but they knife through those waves so well. Allez vite. In second place, Turkish Express. Nuri Sabunja on the far side. That's Hurley Step on the near side. You'll watch his arm go back and forth as they go up into the air. He's got to come back off the throttle. Careful not to over-rev those 12-cylinder Lamborghini engines. Now right behind them, Don Q Crystal and Dirty Laundry. Oh, look at that move.
He almost lost it right there, coming hard down on his left spots, and now he's slowing down, and he'll take bigger bumps. Slower he goes in this rough water in that 32-footer.
That's a difficult thing to do, to regain your composure after a big move like that, but they must do it getting back up to speed to cut that pounding down.
Currently battling now for third place, Don Q Crystal. In fifth place, it's the Bengal Bay Club as we look at the stern drives. This is the only open class boat that does not have a canopy on it.
And Jim rules next year might require them to have that canopy in the future.
Oh my, will you look at this? Oh, Gentry, Turbo Eagle, Bob Cousin, Errol Lanier on the beach, literally. And this describes the type of year they've had. Here's some of the other boats that are on the beach today. And they're out of the race. We've had high attrition, Art.
3 in open and 3 in pro, including the national champion, High Risk. But Bob Kaiser has to figure out how to get that craft off the coral. That's not a sandy beach.
Here's our leader in Superboat as we continue with Spirit of the Amazon. Ike Batista averaging better than 85 miles an hour.
And it looks like he's on the way of winning both heats of this World Championship. Here is Lucky Strike. A new engine program has put them into second place. They've overhauled and updated those engines, and they look great.
That's right, Art, in second place in Superboat, the Lucky Strike of Phil Mashinsky, 47-foot Apache V-bottom. See it go right through that wave. It's running terrifically in these rough seas. The boat has 4 men on board, and it's just taking the rough water extremely well. A more conservative setup, a more traditional setup than Ike Batista has, but it's certainly doing very well today.
Well, it's a red letter day for Lucky Strike, Phil Mashinsky and his crew. This could be the best finish of the season, and what a great place to have it at the World Championships.
Here's our third place boat, Payless Eric's Reality. This boat has finished second, New York and Grand Haven. That's the best they've done all year, and they're riding pretty smooth today. As we look at our camera facing backwards off of the stern of the Super Hawaii. Look at the water that boat kicks up, Art.
That's right. They started the campaign in the third race of the season. Miami took a fourth, a sixth in New York, and then a second at Marathon.
We are looking at the fifth place Bud Dry, August Bush the fourth, and Jeff Sofer in their first full race of the year. We'll be back to beautiful Key West with more action in just a moment.
Welcome back to Key West, Florida. Art Ekman and Jim Hendrick. Little Caesar's Pizza is out of the race, but it was last year in Atlantic City he brought home the checkered flag.
In the rough seas of the North Atlantic, it's not only a question of cat versus V or diesel versus gasoline power. The challenge is also one of survival. In one of the more calamitous world offshore events in recent years, Peter Markey and his Little Caesar Pizza Deep V proved that consistency is the key to victory. Following to a third-place finish in race one, Markey returned to the choppy waters days later to battle it out with points leader Stephen Baldwin in the RDS. As attrition took its toll on the storm-blown course, the Little Caesars averaged a blistering 87 miles an hour to finish 2.5 minutes ahead of the nearest competitor. He came to Atlantic City to play his hand for the gold. Courage, while gambling against the elements, was the ace in the hole that Peter Markey used to win the 1989 World Championship and his place as a world-class performer.
Peter Markey of Farmington Hills, Michigan. He's down and out now, but he'll be back, you can bet your life. What a great day for Stephen Dorsich. After wins at Grand Haven and New York and losing the final race in the National Points Championship, he comes home with the World Championship flag today, averaging 62.74 miles an hour, beating Thoroughbred Gun again in that order.
And look at Ali Veet, winner in the open class, and they almost didn't make this race. They started late and had to catch up to the field.
Here's a battle for pride, a battle for third place between Don Q. Crystal on the far side and Dirty Laundry. Joe Mock has a 49-point lead out of the first heat. He needs this fourth and hold on to it to take the overall World Championship. It looks like he does. Ali Veet has won this heat, but your world champion is US 1, Dirty Laundry. And a strong finish for Spirit of the Amazon, just like the race he's run. A very strong race. The winner of our Superboat division. Jim is now dockside with Alan Perisher and Rick Doria, the winners of Pro 2.
Guys, you won Wednesday very handily, and by 20 minutes today, why would you do that?
Well, we decided to know how far back they were, and the water felt pretty good, and so we just went out there and ran and had a good time. That's what it's all about.
Well, and you know, you're hanging on that steering wheel. He's got those throttles going. Did that worry you at all, setting that pace?
No, he's the best. He really is. We were, it was a little rough out there in parts, but we were really able to get up on top of it.
Winning the World Championship in their V-bottom 28-foot Scarab Splish Splash. Skaters Express second in the World Championships with Conch Attack third. And here getting the checkered flag after a brilliant race is Ike Batista. We'll be back with comments from more world champions right after this. The crowd crowds have gathered around the Galleon Resort docks to greet the winners as they come in. Jim's doing that as well as he's with the Pro 1 winners, Stephen Dorsich and John Bruno.
Hey, guys, 2 first-place wins over the week. You couldn't do any better than that.
Oh, you bet. We pulled it off. It was hard. That water was rough, but we did it. It was tough for us.
John, it has to be satisfying because you came so close to winning the national championship and winning that, only to have some malfunction and lose it the last 400 yards.
Yeah, I was praying on the last stretch that nothing would break. That was it, but it was a good race. Thoroughbred kept everybody honest. We ran hard. It couldn't have been much closer, and the best team won, I guess.
I guess it was risky business dominating the Pro 1 World Championship over Thoroughbred, First Offense, Eastern Express, and Gone Again. And what a pleasant way to end the season for Ale Veit and the driver, Pete Rhodes.
You almost didn't make this race.
It was about as close as it could have been. We had steering problems and had to take the boat out of the water at the last minute. And as we were putting it back in the water, they were lining up to start, so we just raced up and joined them as they took off, and fortunately started on time. We got there first at the first buoy, so I guess it didn't matter that we started a little bit late. It was a good race, very hard conditions, and we thought we might do well, and we're happy we did.
The winner of Heat 2, Ale Veit, but the winner of Heat 1 and the overall points champion for the World Championship trophy seen right here, US 1, Dirty Laundry.
If you can win the World and the Nationals like a doubleheader victory, and Joe Mock, you did just that.
Well, it was a wonderful day, wonderful week. We won the race Wednesday, and today we're basically played for position, and we got our position.
Harold Smitty Smith working the throttles. Did you really want to settle for second and make it safe victory?
Most definitely wanted a safe day and definitely wanted the championship. That's what we came here for.
So you wouldn't go out and push it and break something?
Never attempted it.
Well, what about the water conditions? What's the difference between Wednesday and today?
Well, we had a different course. It was a little rougher today on the outside than Wednesday, but then today we ran along the beach. It was pretty flat along the beach, so we could basically run almost wide open on the beach.
The proud title holder, Dirty Laundry, the World Championship. Don Q. Crystal second. Ale Veit is third. And now to the winner of the Superboat class.
You think you'd settle back and not go for it like you did today?
Yes, well, we went for it, but I think on the second lap we changed the strategy. We went really inshore, and I think it actually surprised some of the checkpoints. Sometimes they didn't see us, but I think that was a strategy, and we were successful with it.
Bobby, any difference on the throttles today as of a couple of days ago?
Well, it was sloppy out there, but the boat ran well, and we were going to lay back in fourth place, but it was kind of easy, so we went for the front right away.
Here are the combined points for the 2 Superboat races. Our world champion winning both heats, Ike Batista, in dominating style. The OPT World Champions in review. In Superboats, Ike Batista of Rio de Janeiro, in the spirit of the Amazon. For open class from St. Louis, Joe Mock, 2 for 2, winning both the national and world titles this year. In Pro 1, Stephen Dorsich out of Santa Clara, California, in risky business. And Splish Splash in Pro 2, Alan Pariser from Marina del Rey, California. Jim, as we anticipated, tremendous action here in Key West for the World Championships.
It was a challenge, as we said at the outset of the program, meeting the currents of the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. The challenge was there. They picked up the gauntlet. One heck of a race.
I don't think anyone anticipated such a successful premier season for OPT.
Not even the OPT people themselves would figure that it would be this successful for 7 races in the national championship run and here today in the World Championships.
For our producer, William and Bowden, this is Art Eckman with Jim Hendrick and Rich Lures saying thank you for being with us from beautiful Key West, Florida. The 1990 OPT World Championship was sponsored by the Florida Keys in Key West, where you can check your shoes at the shore and just let go. By Popeye's famous fried chicken and biscuits. And by Super Hawaii Powerboats. Promotional consideration has been provided by the Ocean Key House Suite Resort. 68 fabulous 1- and 2-bedroom suites. The only Key West resort that touches the Gulf of Mexico, Mallory Square and Duval Street in historic Old Town, Key West. This has been a production of IPI Sports in association with ESPN.